Hey guys, welcome back to Bristow Daily Homes. Ryan here again. Hope everybody's having a great week. We've got two homes that came on the market prior to the weekend. We might see a little bit more of a flurry of activity later today. As of right now, only two, which we'll hop into. So I wanted to touch on a question that many of you have asked, which is, the inventory in Bristow is relatively, low. There's not near as many houses as there are people that are actually looking for them. A lot of that is, due to equity positioning of homes. There's a lot of people that are still underwater, so they're waiting to get their head above water before they put their house on the market. But people are asking, what can they do to make themselves more competitive when writing a contract? Obviously, the first thing that you want to do is to be pre-approved for a mortgage. Pre-qualified, pre-approved, those terms get thrown around. But the best bit of advice that I can give is make sure that the person that's pre-approving you, a lot of them are through online systems, which I'm not a big fan of because I prefer for you to be able to talk to somebody that you have a direct line of communication with, a loan officer that deals primarily with mortgages and not is just in a banking capacity. The reason for that is if you just enter in all your information online, say what the amount of money you make, what your debts are, all these things, and then it just basically pulls up an automated approval based upon that information without them actually receiving the documentation, meaning after actually looking at your tax returns, looking at your W-2s, looking at your written verification of employment, if there's overtime or bonuses and all those different things, you could have an approval that really doesn't mean much. And that is a big nightmare in the end of the day. You want to make sure that you're fully 100% pre-approved for this mortgage. The loan officer, a mortgage company, has reviewed all of your documentation and said, yes, based upon all this information, you are pre-approved up to this amount. And you can feel good about that, knowing when you make an offer on a property that you're not going to have a last-second hang-up. Now, so we have a firm pre-approval letter that, when the potential listing agent calls over to the mortgage company to verify that you've been pre-approved, they can vouch and say, yes, all documentation has been verified, and it's not simply an automated approval that many banks are spitting out these days. It's hard enough to get a property under contract, but there's nothing worse than getting a property under contract that you thought you were pre-qualified or pre-approved for, only to find out that you weren't because there was something that, showed up in your documentation. Let's just say you weren't receiving overtime for 2+ years, so they couldn't count it. Therefore, you're no longer qualified for this house. At the end of the day, it's going to make you discouraged because A, that contract's probably going to fall through unless you can somehow mysteriously find another person to add to the loan to co-sign. And you're probably going to end up having to search for a home that's much less of a sales price in order to get your qualifying ratios in line. So I think that one of the biggest things you can do to help yourself out from the very beginning is work with a very good, solid mortgage company and loan officer that know what they're doing, that are going to review all your documents. And if somebody's not asking you for all your documentation, tax returns, W-2s, bank statements, pay stubs, all that stuff, then you should be very leery of them. Because at the end of the day, they can give you that pre-approval letter based upon the information that you gave them, not the documentation. So just be very cautious of that. We've got a group of lenders that we work with that we know that when they say that you're good to go. We're not going to have any last-second hang-ups. Obviously, there can be certain circumstances that pop up, like you lose your job in the middle of a transaction. We can't control that. But we can control what lenders at the beginning of the process you're working with that should be taking certain steps to ensure that you're going to be able to move into that home on time with no issues. So reach out to me. I'd be glad to put you in contact, depending upon the type of financing you're looking for, different lenders that can help you out. 703-596-0011. So enough about that. Into today's two properties. The first one, 88 Huckleberry Court, located in the Avendale subdivision, which is the new subdivision located off of Van Hill Road, adjacent to the Harris Teeter Shopping Center. This is the Pennington Model. It's a 2-car garage. It almost looks like a Cape Cod from the outside. I'm sure many of you probably are thinking the same thing. It has an interesting look to it. $495,999. Sits on 0.177 of an acre. 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. The basement is partially finished. Total square footage, including that partially finished basement, looks about 3,264. There's some pictures, obviously, of the model, and it says to be built. Photos are similar. Options may be available, but obviously it could cost you more than the $495 that's listed here. So this is the floor plan. granite countertops. Stainless steel appliances do come within this price, and hardwood floors, as you can see here. So that's the basic model here. Once again, this is a new subdivision. All the homes over there are pushing up into that close to $500,000 range, as are all the prices in Bristow. Just like I mentioned, because of the lack of inventory, there's more demand than there is inventory, which naturally pushes prices up. Now, we do have interest rates which are rising, which at a certain point things will probably start to level off because of people can afford less when interest rates are rising. But this is a great community. This is a great option. I mean, many people, when they get bummed out that there's not resales that they can find cheaper, they tend to go to these new communities. They can put whatever you want in the house. Just always remember, when you're dealing with a builder, you can still have an agent, a licensed realtor represent you, and it costs you nothing. The builder pays the real estate agent's commission, so you don't have to worry about that. And they can make sure that you understand the entire contract and all of the potential problems that could arise. And that's just critically important, and I say that time and time again, but I just want to make you guys remember that if you want to go look at a new home sales division, give us a call. We'd be glad to take you over there. If they don't have this specific model with the options that you want, we can potentially go to another neighborhood that does, another subdivision that does, might be in a different city, to see what, compare apples to apples there. And then the other property that's in Bristow is 9718 Granary Place. Villages at Saybrooke subdivision. Interestingly enough, I sold a house over there a couple months back. This model, it's a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, sits on just under a 1/4 acre lot. Standard sale at $440,000. It's got an unfinished basement, so you got about 2,700 square feet on the main 2 levels. Brick front, 2-car garage. The comments here say all the bells and whistles. Great deck, kitchen and bathroom cabinets have been refaced. We'll go through some of the pics here. Pictures are a little bit fuzzy, I think, because of the lighting. Here's the kitchen. Pretty neutral paint throughout. Vaulted ceilings in the master bath. Separate shower and tub. Double sink. Here's the big deck that's off the back there. Nice flat yard that's fenced in, which is definite plus for kids and dogs. At $440,000, I think that it's reasonable. However, I think that people are probably going to be looking at other options just simply because the basement's unfinished. We do have another property that's under contract that's about 500 square feet less, but it does have a finished basement, which is going to add a lot more square footage onto this home. And it was listed at $425,000, and then we had another one that sold at $425,000 that had about 500 square feet less. Now, obviously, main level square footage is going to definitely drive the price up because above grade square footage is the most important. And a lot of the times, if you just say $100 a square foot, that's could be a difference of $40,000, $50,000. Now, appraiser's not necessarily going to comp it like that, but I think that $440 is probably a decent price. If you finish the basement out, you're probably looking at a substantial increase in price there. So definitely worth giving this one a look. I mean, still, it's Bristow, Villages at Saybrooke. Less than $450,000 for a detached home. Definitely worth looking at. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in. If you have any questions over the weekend, feel free to give me or my team a call, 703-596-0011. And as always, you can always visit the website at bristowdailyhomes.com. Want to mention, because this is the first week that we opened up our sister site, Gainesville Homes Daily. If you're looking not just in Bristow, but also Gainesville, you can also shoot over to the other website, which is GainesvilleHomesDaily.com. Have a great weekend, guys, and we will be back to you next week.